Hey guys, it is a chilly fall morning here in the garden. It is actually starting to feel like fall, even though it's been fall for a few weeks now. Here in South Carolina, it doesn't actually get that cold, but I'm cold enough to be wearing a sweatshirt out here, so it is officially fall. We've got a lot of change happening in the garden, and at the same time, not that much, because I am pushing things right to the edge as far as the frost, and that's not necessarily intentional to extend the season. That's more my own lack of time to get all the things done that need to get done. However, you can see I did finally mulch out all the grass and weeds on this side of the garden, and everything looks so much nicer. Hopefully this will keep everything back for a while. This is just a layer of cardboard and straw over the whole thing. You can kind of see it poking out here because the wind is blowing a little bit of it. But that is kind of my standard thing for mulching over weeds. I'll do this in the pathways as well, the cardboard, and then I will just add more straw in between the plants when I have time to go get some more from the store. Even with how cold the nights have been, we still got zinnias blooming, looking absolutely gorgeous. And this purple basil is still looking really great despite the cold. I would say the green basils, this is an Emily basil, not doing as well with the cold. It's really struggling. Most of these plants need to come out imminently. Like the marigolds, they're not going to last through a frost. And we do have only a couple of weeks until our estimated first frost date of the year. We'll see if that date actually holds up, but I gotta be prepared for that. And all of this fall stuff that I planted, these brassicas, they are here. They're ready to take over, and the gaps need to get filled in, but there is a lot of fall stuff in the garden already. Last week I was complaining about how we hadn't had any rain for a few weeks, and then we finally got 2 days of rain this past week. Not just a whole lot of water, but definitely more than zero, and I think it helped the garden a lot. It looked so much better after that rain. The purple pole beans are definitely still making pods. I should come through and pick off all of these dried pods. You can see there's some that are still just almost ready. I will have quite a few beans from these this year, but not as many as last year, because I had 3 plants last year. I only have 2 this year, but it's still going to be quite a few dried beans, plenty for seed stock, and then plenty more left over for eating in chilies this winter. I just noticed another little volunteer dill plant. This is actually underneath where my dill was this summer, so that actually makes sense, as opposed to the one that's like 30 feet away in the path. But it seems that dill really likes this time of year. I wouldn't have thought to plant it in the fall or like super early in the spring, but I'm learning a lot, guys. Dill likes these kind of chilly temperatures. And by chilly, I mean it is like in the 60s, upper 60s during the day, and it is getting into the 40s at night right now. That's all Fahrenheit, obviously. It is chilly, but it is not freezing, and it's definitely like warming up during the day. In the back corner of this first row, we've got some of the larger broccoli plants of this row. They are looking so good. And then over here on the other side of the trellis, you can see my fava beans are just really taking off. That extra rain was exactly what they needed, and they grew, I swear, like 3 or 4 inches in just this week. Now if we come back to the front and look at this second row here, this is where the majority of the zinnias are. Like we saw in that first row, you know, there's definitely the ones that still are blooming fresh and look pretty, and then the rest of these that are dying and looking really sad. But I mean, look at that. That's another bloom, another bloom, another bloom. Zinnias are amazing if you want something that's blooming all season. These bloomed in the heat of the summer, and they're blooming when the nights are in the 40s. It is really a great flower to have. Additionally, my nasturtiums have been blooming all summer and into the cold as well. I heard that they actually kind of prefer cooler temperatures, so they are having a good time right now. And I am finally getting seeds from these. Look at that. Those are nasturtium seeds. They can be eaten. Some people like to make them into capers, but the whole plant is edible, great for salads, and having edible flowers in your salads is just super cool, huh? Back behind the zinnias, there's more fava beans out here, and we also have this section of rutabagas coming up. They are definitely doing better than they were when it wasn't really raining, but they're still looking a little sad. They're gonna be slow this season, and should have already planted my turnips by now. Radishes, I probably still have a little bit of time, but because it is now going to be consistently cooler, everything is going to grow slower, and the days are only getting shorter as far as daylight. So I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's actually going to be worth it for me to try to plant turnips. I might do it anyway, but what brought me to that thought was that the rutabagas not being as big as I would like means that it will take them much longer to grow me big enough to have a root, and might hurt their chances of actually producing a root at all, but we'll have to see. I definitely need to come through here and pull out a lot of this summer produce. There's still plenty of eggplant out here. There are plenty of sweet peppers out here. You can see them sitting on the ground because this plant has fallen over. And I've got to come out and pull out all of the ginger before it freezes. There's a lot to do, guys. All of this will probably get pulled out before next week, or, you know, knowing me, it'll be 2 weeks before it all comes out. The zinnias back here are looking the worst out of all of them. They have serious powdery mildew, but you can still see, like, look over there, fresh, pretty bloom. As always, we got to go around our spider friend. A couple of you suggested names, but the one that I remember is Lenny. So this is now Lenny the spider. We'll see how long she stays in my garden, but she's been here for over a month now, I think. Looking at the corn that Lenny is using as support for her web, the stuff is starting to dry out. I took a cob of it indoors to test the popping. It's still not quite dry enough for that, but I do need to take it in before the freeze and let it continue drying indoors. So all of this will also get taken out as I'm taking out all of the summer stuff that needs to be prepped for a freezing garden. Back behind the corn, we do have a bunch of Brussels sprouts and potatoes. I just noticed another potato coming up here in the path. I don't know how that's going to fare. Potatoes are not frost hardy, so these will also die, at least the tops will, when the frost comes. I might have the option to just leave the potatoes in the ground until next spring, let them come up whenever the weather seems warm enough for them, and just have a head start on these potatoes. I had initially put these in because I wanted fresher seed stock for the spring, which I might still get that out of this. We'll see. But all the rest of these brassicas, these are Brussels sprouts, and I haven't seen them starting to make any sprouts yet. But, well, look at that. Right in the little armpits, you can see the little sprouts maybe starting to come in. Hopefully I get Brussels sprouts. They're one of my favorite cruciferous vegetables. All right, back at the front for row 3, the arches. We've got still noodle beans coming in and drying out. There's a lot on here that I need to take inside to finish drying and then shell. But this plant, like I've said, it keeps going all the way up until the frost. If I was picking these, it would still be making fresh beans for me, which is just wild. Like you can see here, it's still flowering, and it doesn't look that upset with the cold, all things considered. Very productive plant, these Chinese red noodle beans. Here at the base of them, you can see I've got my peas coming up. They are wrapping around my beans, which means I probably won't be able to actually clear this trellis before the peas are taking over for the winter. That's probably not going to be a big deal because once these die back in the frost, they will just be almost non-existent. Like you can see this dead cucumber right here. It's not really blocking sunlight for anybody. so that's probably not going to be a problem. But I am very excited to have these peas coming up at the time that they are. I think this year I've really done a good job of getting the timing right as far as getting all of these transition plants planted early enough that they are here and established and ready to go as the frost is coming. These blue butterfly peas are doing so much better than I would have expected for this chilly season. They're making me lots of pods, which I really like. And I am really excited to replant these next year. They've just been absolutely gorgeous and productive. Back behind these trellises is the hot pepper section. And again, this is something I've got to come through and basically clear all of the fruits off of these plants and take the plants out. Every year somebody asks me if I overwinter my pepper plants. I have tried that in the past, and it has not gone very well for me. Mostly it's because I don't have a good space for it. If I had a greenhouse that I could keep warm during the winter, I would have a much better time with overwintering these than inside my house, because really all I have room for is a little grow light setup for seedlings, and I could maybe keep one pepper plant over the course of the winter in there, but definitely not one of each of these over the winter. There's just simply no room for that. Look at how pretty this Trepidera pepper plant is. Oh, that one's not doing so well. But the rest of these, look at those cherry red. It looks like a Christmas tree. Same as the Tabasco, which still is so close to ripe. I'm really hoping that it will be able to ripen a lot of these before the frost comes. But the green peppers will still be pretty tasty. I'll be able to make a sauce out of them. It'll just be kind of a different sort of Tabasco sauce. Before these plants get taken out though, I want to say one more thing about this plant here. This is the Sugar Rush Peach pepper plant that I have. This is the one that has been the most sick looking all year. And through using Organic Rev on it, I'm pretty sure that I not only kept it alive, but also kept the disease from spreading to all the plants around it, which is pretty awesome because last year my peppers did terribly because of this exact same thing. So if you want to check out that product, it's always linked in my description, but basically it is a bunch of good bacteria and fungi that help support plants at the soil level by supporting all the microbial life that interacts with the plant to bring them nutrients, thus boosting their immunity to stuff like this because they have better access to the nutrition that they need. That is my theory on why it works. We don't know exactly why it would work, but that is the theory that makes the most sense to me. And as I've proven to myself, it obviously does work. Right here along the back, I also mulched this area to kind of keep the grass from encroaching any farther into the garden. This blueberry here, having a great time. I'm so excited to see it come back from dormancy next year. And all of the plants back here, let's see, we've got Brussels sprouts that are a little smaller. Sweet potatoes are going to have to come out. Marigolds are going to have to come out, and all of these sweet peppers along here are going to have to come out. You can see I am getting ripe peppers off of these though, which is awesome. I also did not think that any of these orange ones actually made it to maturity, so that is really good news, although probably not going to be growing these again. These are Etiuda peppers, and they just haven't been as healthy or prolific as I would have liked. Not to mention, most of what I do with sweet peppers is roast them because they come in such large quantities usually that I roast them and then I put them into stuff like Ivar sauce, or I will store them in the freezer. And it's just really hard to peel bell peppers as opposed to like the pointy sweet peppers. The skins just come right off of those. My favorite sweet pepper is the Ivarsky pepper. It is like this, very thick, sweet walled pepper, pointy, smooth, so that when you roast it, it roasts evenly, and the skin, like I said, it just comes right off. I still have a bunch of seedlings here at the front of the garden. These are my best looking onion starts. They're doing okay. I would have liked to have more of them, but I think what I'm learning is I just have to overplant because not all of them are going to make it. The ones that are making it are looking pretty good. It is almost time to plant onions. Last year I put out my onion starts in, I think, late November. Similar timing to my garlic that I will plant out. So today I do want to kind of quickly skip over the raised beds. Just a quick little update on these. We've got chamomile making seeds and my carrots floofing out and doing a really good job. But what's most exciting is we finally planted out those 2 blueberry bushes that I have almost killed several times now, and hopefully they will have a little bit of time to get established and be ready to start actually growing in the spring. If you look at these blueberry bushes that are new versus the ones that have been here a couple of years, there's a very clear size difference. These are not the happiest blueberries, but I think they're finally getting established. This was choked out by weeds not too long ago, and I finally cleared all of this out. I've got the straw down to help with that. I did a little more weeding in this area as well, but I'm very excited for these strawberries to keep expanding next year and actually make weeding kind of an obsolete thing in this area because the grass just can't compete with how dense the strawberries grow. I am still picking raspberries, not just a ton, but definitely like enough for fresh eating, and it's been great. They're so delicious, and having ever-bearing raspberries around has been one of the best decisions I've made for my garden. This is my absolute favorite fruit. Alright guys, I just noticed that my fingers are going numb. I perhaps should have worn gloves, but I'm going to go inside. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. But until then, happy gardening.